Hey, what's up, guys? 10571 here, and you guys know what this is. So let's get started. What do you guys got for me? Make sure myself is muted, that might help. Okay. I also forgot to set the white balance at the last second, so I almost missed the beginning of the stream by more than 0 milliseconds, so that's not acceptable. I think I answered that question last time. The beans thing. Yeah, light red kidney beans are awesome, man. You know, it's really funny. I grew up with light red kidney beans and mayo and black pepper. I don't know why it's so good, but I eat that all the time because it's full of fiber and keeps you full and is cheap. It's pretty great. I don't know why it's so good, but it is. Yeah, I know. It sounds weird, right? But it's really good. You can use any kind of different spice you want, though, but it really brings it alive. All right. Oh, you want to know how bad the 300 Pro is? Yeah, it's not very good. One thing they were able to improve, actually, in fact, I don't even have it to show you that I had it because I already sent it back like one day after I got it. So that should tell you most of what you need to know about the HD 300 Pro. But really, the frequency response is definitely better than the 380 and the 280. Like, the bass is much flatter, but it's got this giant, like, 10K or 8K or something like that treble peak that's just got tons of haze over it. There's no sound stage. Well, that's expected. Haze, it's a Sennheiser closed back for monitoring, and then the other thing is that it clamps a lot, like a 280, and actually, even though the 380 is kind of clampy, it's a lot less clampy than the 280, which is one reason why I chose it anyway. So yeah, better buy up those HD 380s before they become impossible to get. I might even buy some extra pads for mine because it's good for this sort of thing. Okay. 599 versus the 599 SE. Yeah, I wouldn't expect there to be any difference. I think it's just a color scheme thing. Same thing with the 598 and the 598 SR. HD 800 Slam with EQ. I mean, it's got a lot less total harmonic distortion than the HD 6X0s. So yeah, it's more capable in the bass. So it's not bad, but it's not like a Fostex or something. 600, 650, and 660S. Yes, the 660S. I wouldn't call the 660S treble sparkle. It's actually kind of halfway fake detail. I tried equalizing it, and you'll find that if you put a filter at about, I can't remember if it was, I think it was 11K, and you drop it by 3 dB, that brings the treble more in line with the other two. And the problem is that because that's there already, because that treble peak is there already, it's, even when you EQ it, it tries to force its way through a little bit, so that kind of hurts the timbre of the 660S. That's what I found anyway. Oh, hey, Soundwave Tracks. I see you a lot on my channel. Thanks for the super chat. Was the 95X bass that bad? It definitely, I mean, if you look at my measurements, you'll see that it definitely has that kind of notch and then flat. It's kind of like the thing that Stax has and other electrostats do. But yeah, besides the frequency response, yeah, the impact just wasn't there. So, yeah, pretty much. Yeah, that's right. Some headphones have great detail in the bass, but weak impact. It kind of wasn't the best at detail or impact in the bass. But the reason why I liked it is because its mids and treble were smooth. They're hazy, but they're smooth, and they're only hazy in terms of, like, compared to really expensive electrostats like the L700 that I'd heard before that. But for like $499, considering it comes with its own energizer, I don't think that's really that bad of a deal. Oh wow, Julian Krause, hey, how's it going? Wow, I didn't expect to see you here. That's awesome. I still don't have that DBX 286S. You can slap me after the stream's over. I'm getting into streaming more. Any reason? Honestly, this is really easy for me because making the video reviews requires so much preparation, and I just kind of have all this knowledge floating around in my head, so it's actually kind of nice to just interact with you guys in just a normal Q&A session. It's funny that I say streaming is easier and is lazier for me, but it feels like you guys might actually get more out of this because I respond to what would otherwise be comments almost immediately, as long as I can keep up with them. Have I heard the sextet? Yeah, I have a 240 sextet. I have an LP, and one of the big things I noticed about it is that you have to use the original pads. If you replace the pads with the modern 240 pads, you get massive, like 10 plus dB 6K peaks, and it's awful. So if you want to get a sextet, we're talking about the 1970s AKG K240 here, for those who are not familiar. If you want to get one of those, make sure it has the original leather pads. They definitely have a different material. And whatever it was better. The foam in mine is really, I mean, it's probably the original from like 40 years ago, so it's really flat, but still, the sound quality is much better. 2 streams in a row where beans are discussed. Yeah, okay, I guess I approve that. Is that going to be a thing now? Maybe there'll be more beans in the next review. I have no idea. Am I going to have to... Is that going to be my thing? Like, I guess I'm going to stack up bean cans behind me, like MKBHD and his Honey Nut Cheerios. Cheers from Poland. Hey, you know, I always want to learn Polish because I am Polish by heritage, at least partially. Non-audio hobbies. I talked about this in the last stream quite a bit. I still play guitar, actually. I have some tube amps in the other room. Definitely a big car guy. I like animals. Like, cats are amazing. That's why every time you go on a Z Reviews video, you see me commenting about Chewbacca, because Chewbacca is awesome. I've actually been to Z's, and I can tell you that Chewbacca is also a soft being. It's very good. I approve. I've been to like some cat cafes locally and stuff, and it's just great. How can you not like animals? It's the best. But I don't actually have any pets. Maybe I will in the future. That would be fantastic. For now, I have to go over to other people's houses to pet their cats because it's the best. Other non-audio hobbies. Yeah, and I think I said I was a total car guy as well. And I've been into cars since I was a little kid, playing Need for Speed games in the late 90s. So that's another one. Moving on here. If I heard the R70X, yes, I reviewed it. Actually, its sound signature is pretty similar to a 650. I don't think the mids were quite as forward, but like it's just grainier than the Sennheisers. Yeah, that is an IKEA lamp in the background. The model is called Not, and I'm serious. It's just N-O-T. They're like $20. I have a bunch of them from living in Philly from years ago, and they work pretty well. Oh, yeah, DMS does not live with Zeos. I think he visits him occasionally. What's the most fun factor headphone while still retaining audiophile sound? With no MSRP in mind, yeah, probably LCD4. Dude, I've never had more fun than listening to the headphone than that. But other ones that are much, much more affordable than that are really fun are like the X00. The Creative Arvana Live definitely in there. A lot of those biocellulose headphones with the bass impact is just so fun. If Ketchup was here from Discord, he would say that they have the most blam with the red B. Oh, Cascades. Oh, God. That's a lot of bass. You have to be into that kind of thing. That's like 10 dB of bass. I heard those at Can Jam. It's just so much bass, but more importantly, it bleeds a little too much into the low mids. And yeah, I don't know. Cascade's not really my thing. I'm definitely a bass head compared to most audiophiles, but that's a lot. 4Z is not impressive. For me, yeah, it's not. I just heard it actually over at Bloom Audio, which is a local distributor. Actually, you can go to their website, and they have some good deals on headphones that I would recommend. But yeah, he had a 4Z over there, and yeah, it's just sounded like an etched over LCD4 driver, which is kind of what it is. It's got a wider trace and it has more mass. It's just really disappointing for $4,000. I do need to hear the MX4 at home. Somebody needs to send me that already, because I also thought that was not very good at Can Jam, but I need to hear it at home to know for sure. I know for sure the LCD4Z is just, nobody should pay $4,000 for that. That's really crazy. HE5 SE. Yeah, you know, when Hi-Fi Man, what's it called? When Hi-Fi Man kind of reintroduced those models, the HE5, HE6 SE, it's nothing like the original drivers as far as I can tell from the measurements. And yeah, so that's why people don't like them, because they're not the original. And apparently they may not even be, drivers might not even be related. I don't know for sure though. What amp did I have hooked up? I had it hooked up to the 1980s Stax Energizer. I totally forget the name. Oh, SRM1 Mark II, I think is what it was, which I hope I mentioned in that review. I know Energizers can apparently make a big difference with stats, but I still think I got most of it out of the L700 there, because it had giant levels of detail, which was pretty great. So even though it's a vintage stat amp, it certainly sounded fine to me. Let's see. Have I heard MSSR? Yes, I can't even say words. Have I heard the MSR7? Yeah, I did. And actually, I didn't even bother to review it, because it doesn't make sense to me to have a headphone you walk around with that's on the bright side, because you already tend to want more bass when you're walking around. So for a portable, I don't think it made sense. And it was kind of a portable focused headphone. But yeah, I don't know. MSR7 was just not the best thing I've heard. So I just didn't really do that. Your cat has jumped into the same window too many times. Yeah, I don't know. I guess they all have their own habits, which I find hilarious. They're always keeping you on your toes. I feel like one would eat up all my cables, but then again, Z has about 2 billion cables, and his cat's fine, at least as far as I know. What DAC do I recommend with the 6XX? They can just go with any, regular, not even mid-range, just, I guess, budget at this point, stack. Like, I have a S-Stack, which is a Grace Design, I think it's called Grace Design S-Stack, and the JDS Labs Atom at work. But if I still had a reasonable setup at home rather than ridiculous things like those two behind me, I think that's all I would have ended up with too. So that'll work fine for any of those Sennheisers. Is it normal for sound quality to vary from unit to unit within a given headphone model? You got 3 units of the same headphone. Yeah, which headphone? Was it an Audeze? Because, yeah, those are going to vary a little bit from unit to unit. It depends on the headphone, really. I thought you said you were not going to be able to make this Flux. Oh, maybe he's still working while watching my stream. Now, that's dedication right there. LCD2 non-phasered versus LCD2 classic. Yeah, I want to do that, but it's hard to get the Rosewood LCD2, the original. What I really want is like an LCD 2.1 where it says, has like totally different lettering on the ear cup. It's like sound research or something like that. Those are really neat. Definitely want to hear one of the earliest LCD2s, but yep, someone has to send me one of those. Oh, CanJam 2020 priority list. Yeah, the SR1A and the headphone, head-to-phone definitely are right up there. I don't know if, what's that guy from Audeze is going to be, the Rad Zero is going to be there officially or not. Last CanJam it was unofficially there, so I only heard it a little bit. But I want to listen to that again. Oh, yeah, that's right. Didn't you have one for a while? Yeah, okay. So that's not very interesting for you, but for me it would be. Emutique the best biodynamic. It's definitely more detailed than the X00. I was actually kind of taken aback. I was surprised, but also the mids were more forward, which kind of bugged me a bit. But yeah, it's definitely an upgrade from what I heard over an X00 Ebony. But the best biodynamic you can buy. Somebody corrected me and I think said that TH909 might be better than the Auteur. I don't know. I haven't heard that before. Am I doing the Atticus owner's perspective? Yeah, I'm always doing a review. It's just a matter of the rate at which I'm doing a review, which is another reason why I'm streaming here, because this lets me interact with you guys more often without having to prepare a whole bunch of stuff. Let's see. Mixed beans with spaghetti. Yeah, I know. That is awesome. Ether CX and Aeon closed. I have not heard the CX in particular. Aeon Flow closed. Not a big fan. It's kind of grainy for how expensive it is, but most importantly, it really has some of the most dead dynamics. Like, it's really strange how similar songs with great dynamic range sound to each other. It's really odd and off-putting, but if you can get past that, I mean, it's okay. But yeah, I'm just not a big fan. Not for like, what is it, like $700? Seems like it's not worth it, which most closebacks are not. So that's not exactly surprising. Whoa, I really can't keep up with this chat now. Let's see. M40X versus 598CS. You know, hilariously enough, I would definitely still take the M40X. I guess the 598's just... The mids have this really narrow peak at 4K that annoyed me so much. I think I reviewed the 598CS as part of a different review. Or maybe I did it on its own. I don't remember anymore. But I definitely did it at some point. It should be the same thing as the HD569. Have I heard the LCD GX? No, that's on my list for CanJam 2020, speaking of which. But the 4Z, maybe I heard the unit-to-unit variants. Yeah, well, all the 4s that I've heard had about the same level of detail, I think. Just some of them had a brighter or a darker air treble, really. I'm hoping that the 4Z is really more detailed than what I heard over at Bloom Audio, because, yeah, that was pretty weird. I'm not supposed to be echoing. I'm only sending my mic. Hopefully I'm not actually echoing. That's odd. Maybe you opened me twice. The DAC impact rating system. Yeah, that's exactly what we need. Would I review the TH900 if someone sent it to me? Yeah, of course. I mean, especially if somebody can give me the Mark II and also send along some 610 or X00 pads with it, because that fixes the frequency response enormously. It's supposed to be crazy detailed and even better than the Teak. Like, actually, from people that I trust have said that. Flux will bring red 0. Alright, good. I thought you sold it already. That's why I'm surprised to hear you say that. When I say the 380 is worth $200, now, it's probably like $100 to $150. And yeah, the table is detachable. It's right here. I'll show you. It comes out like horizontally. It's pretty weird. But yeah, it is actually detachable, although it's very proprietary. So that's something else to keep in mind. What do I consider an upgrade to the 650 if you can't take the weight of an LCD2? Probably the Aeolus or Aeolus, however in the world you pronounce that. Everywhere on the internet told me Aeolus, and then everyone was like, nope, still wrong. So I don't even know. But yeah, that ZMF is a great upgrade to the 650, I think. If you want the more forward mid-range type of sound, the Auteur is a more direct upgrade. If you don't like the mids as much, being that forward, then yeah, the Aeolus would be the upgrade. One of the upgrades, anyway. Well, the Auteur is a lot more expensive, though. I've heard the 10T2, no. I don't really do IEMs very much. Which people will complain about quite a bit, but it's the way it is. It's funny, people are so surprised to see my ears. Well, actually, I used to do the reviews without the monitoring headphones on. And that was a normal thing. So if you go back in the channel, you'll see those early reviews without the monitoring headphones. See, my ears are not really being hidden on purpose. They're just, I need to listen to the mic so I know what's coming out of it while I'm speaking here. Will Zach send me the Verite closed? Probably not anytime soon. His next estimate is now I'm going to be getting the Verite and the Verite closed at the same time. Maybe in a couple of months once the production ramps up further, which is fine. Because he's got a lot of other reviewers to send stuff to, and I take a while, so that's how it works. Have I tried the LCD2 closed? I don't know. Have I? Somebody wants to see me talk about those. I will in a little bit here. Modded 558. Oh yeah, I did do the modded 558. 600 and 598 CS. Yeah, that was the review for that. That was talking about earlier. Any plans to get into tubes? Nope. I really don't care much about amps and DACs. I just leave that to the other reviewers. I just try to find the best measuring solid state stuff I can get that doesn't also sound bad. Have I listened to the Focal Clear? Yeah, they seem to be a little bit more detailed than the LX, as far as I can tell. Definitely better than the Alere, from what I heard at Can Jam. Those might be pretty great, but they're a little bright for me. They still have that metallic tone in the mid treble. That's a little bit bugs me. I can't form a sentence. Heard the 4Cs stand toe to toe with the 1266. Wrong. I'm not even gonna debate that. I don't think the detail's anywhere close to what's their Abyss is putting out. Just gonna be honest with that one. The two I heard now, two different 4Z is definitely not up there. Although I didn't really like the 1266's frequency response. Really strange sounding, I don't know, roller coastery thing in the mids. I don't know. Maybe I had it positioned completely wrong, because that's easy to do apparently. So DMS needs to send one to me, clearly. The 380 is discontinued, so you can't buy it now, I don't think. Not new. But retail street price was, I think, around 150 to 200. I recommend 599 over the 58X for gaming. Yes, correct. For critical music listening, I don't prefer either of those. I'd rather have a HD 600 or a 580 if you want to be more critical, because the 6XX and 650 is warmer and not as analytical sounding. Antline Mod Mic 5. There's another review I never got to. They did send me the Mod Mic 5, and I have the Mod Mic Wireless somewhere around here. So I'll definitely be reviewing that at some point, because they did send me one. So I was supposed to do that. I don't think it was significantly... Actually, didn't I review the Mod Mic 5? I'm trying to remember now. Maybe I only did the 4. Might have only done the 4. But yeah, the 5 is alright. But I just find that there's too much noise on those Antline mod mics. They do have this adapter now, the XLR adapter, that converts phantom power to the voltage needed to power the Antline stuff, which is nice, because then I get to use my interface, which is clearly low noise, except for the stupid air conditioner. But yeah, they're okay, but the mod mic is probably not something you want to be recording videos like this with, where other people on the other end are listening with really expensive headphones. 600 versus 660S. Could I grab them now and look? The 660S plastic much cheaper and thinner. Really? I don't know about that. I'll have to look at it later. They're in the other room. Sorry, I don't really want to get up in the middle of the live show here. I always recommend low output impedance. Yes. No, high output impedance does not necessarily have advantages. What it does is, if you look at the impedance curve, for example, which Tile measures, or he did measure on his plots, the areas that the impedance versus frequency is boosted is where you will get boosts in the frequency response when you give a headphone a higher output impedance. And that's only if you still have a decent damping factor. You don't want to give like a 120 ohm Z out to like a 30 ohm planar. That'll like be awful. Probably distort like crazy. So output impedance doesn't necessarily automatically reduce the treble or automatically boost the mid bass, although it does tend to boost the mid bass, because that's where dynamic headphones have their primary resonance of the driver. So hopefully that clears that up a little bit, but they don't always have the same effect. Do I like Periphery? That's a pretty prog band for me. They're pretty I don't know, I like 4/4 timing metal a lot more than some of those more math metal bands, but Misha Mansour is a superb guitarist, however, I will say. P&O H6 or the MSR7. For walking around, definitely the H6, I would say. Although those are not made anymore. And I just saw on the news like yesterday that P&O is supposed to be getting sold or something. Oh no, DJ Coop Entertainment's here. Now the party's really started. What headphone do you know that has the most second order distortion? You want the maximum amount of second order harmonic distortion? I mean, you can just add second order harmonic distortion with a tube amp. You don't really need to have a headphone that already has the most distortion to start with, I think. Why don't I review IEMs? There it is. Knew that was coming. You know, my sense of value for a dollar in sound quality is not really tuned to IEMs. I need to hear like all of the references. Like I need an ER4, and then I need a VSonic. What is it? The GR07. I need, you know, something really, really good that's $20. I need an Andromeda. I need to hear all of those first, and then I can even begin to review them. Tool album release party. Isn't that out already? I really have not been following that, clearly. But yeah, Tool album release party. What, are we going to play it live here? That would be funny. Or maybe I should learn one of their songs on guitar and just play it live. Oh no, I don't want to commit to that. Expensive T50RP mods are not worth. I would generally agree with that. Like, even though I like the ZMF Ori, clearly watched too much Stargate. No one's gonna get that reference. But if considering the price of that thing, even though I like it, yeah, the T50s definitely have a quality ceiling. That's one reason why I'm kind of sick of them. Let's see. Do I think the concept of movie surround sound is inherently flawed? I don't agree with that at all. You know, I just bought the John Wick, who is a man of focus, by the way, movie series on Vudu, and listening to that in Dolby Atmos is a total blast. I definitely love surround sound, so I don't know. That's an interesting argument. I've never heard anybody say that sound coming from behind you takes you out of the movie. That's pretty interesting. As an effect, it's good. I mean, maybe if it's only playing on the back speakers, that'd be weird, but that doesn't happen often. It's supposed to be additive, not subtractive from the movie experience. DMS sent his Abyss cans to Z. Yeah, I guess he'll eventually send them to me. I don't know. I move so slowly with the reviews that, because I just don't. I don't know. If this was my, full-time job, I would definitely be able to get reviews out faster. But I'm not. Blah blah blah. 4Z did lose, but wasn't blown away. Well, 4Z probably did lose against the 1266. Probably a lot. But I don't know, the frequency response is still weird. Not that the frequency response isn't weird on Audeze, because it kind of is too. LCDX sounded more neutral than the 4. No, actually the LCDX had probably the most recessed upper mid-range of any of the line that I heard. Actually, now that I think about it, that's not really true now that I have an LCD2. But the 4 has seemingly the most upper mids of all the Audezes. So I actually think the 4 has the best frequency response, but it's still Audeze-ish. What headphone can maximize the pain in my eardrums per unit price? Actually, there is an answer to that question. It's called the Biodynamic DT990. That's a good question. Are the Biodynamic DT770 good? Oh no. Here's where I have to comment again that good is incredibly subjective. There are some objective parts of a good headphone. That's like a whole video into itself. But personally, I think the 770 is too bright for me, as are most Biodynamics. Especially the current ones. Because the 80 ohm doesn't sound like, or at least the one I bought after that 80 ohm review doesn't sound like the original that I had. Alright, whoa, that's a lot of comments. What metal tracks do you listen to when testing headphones? Yep, that's a good one. Yeah, that's definitely vodka, definitely not water. Actually, I've mentioned this before in the comments here and there, but one of the tracks I use, and this is definitely not music for everybody, but some reason the album by Dying Fetus called was it Reign Supreme, I think, is just so well recorded, and that's what I use a lot of tracks off of that to judge the mids, because the mids are not really forward like Metallica, and they're not like dead like some bands who mix the drums way more forward. So That's an interesting balance, and I haven't heard too many albums that are just about the right balance of mids and treble and bass in terms of metal, so that's a good one. Do I have any custom IEMs? No. I really don't have almost any IEMs. Okay, somebody got my Stargate comment there. Thank you. SG1 is such a good show. What is the impedance of the 380? I think you should be concerned more about the sensitivity. But honestly, I think it's 64 ohm, and it's really easy to drive. I wouldn't worry about that if you're... I have it plugged into an audio interface, and it runs super loud, so I don't think you have to worry about that. Engineering-wise, what determines headphone resolution? Can't tell you the answer to that, and in fact, nobody can. Nobody has been able to measure that. I actually asked that question almost verbatim to Jude of HeadFi point blank at CanJam, and he was like, nope, can't do it. Not yet. But some people think everything is in the frequency response, including Sean Olive, and they might be right. We just don't know how to see how detailed a headphone is by looking at the frequency response today. Maybe in the future we will. So that's an interesting area of research that I would like to see progress. Let's see. When did you realize that bright cans were bad? When I started equalizing them is actually the answer to that. Interestingly enough, once I started EQing again, because when I started the hobby, and you'll notice my early reviews, I'm trying to chase neutral. Neutral. So I'm listening to like DT880 and Q701, and those became my dailies for a while. And then I got into EQ, and I'm like, I don't prefer this. And so that's actually kind of why everything evolved. I used EQ for years and years and years. I mean, I've been experimenting with recording stuff on mics on computers since like I was 12. And I've always equalized headphones and speakers and all that stuff. And so then I stopped, and I thought, okay, maybe if I get something that's audiophile enough, it'll be just the right frequency response for me. No, nothing. Absolutely nothing has been good enough in the frequency response for me. That's why I EQ just about everything. There's some that come really close, like those ZMFs I reviewed recently, but it doesn't quite get there. Have I ever thought about quitting my day job to become a full-time reviewer? It's a funny question. No way, man. I definitely don't make the money that Zeos makes off of this stuff. So, no. Do I know any good headsets for audiophiles? That's a good question. I don't really think if you're a serious audiophile that you want to have a microphone tied to your headphones, because most of those are bad. Although I'd say probably the Audeze Mobius is one of the only ones, and then there's the Techstar Pro 82 based stuff, or Pro 80 based stuff like the HyperX Clouds that are okay as well. But I'd rather just buy a 6XX and throw a mod mic on it or something like that. Although that is probably a different price bracket, definitely, than some of those. SR7 through Note 9 is surprisingly deep. Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember the bass being particularly strong on it. It might have decent extension, though. Please review the Night Owl. Honestly, the Night Owl definitely sounded much, much more normal than the Nighthawk did the one time I heard it at a meet. Okay, I'm getting way behind here. The DT990 will murder your ears with sibilant knife stabs. Don't buy it. You know, some people have encouraged me to make a video for clickbait, the ultimate clickbait Metal 571 review. I'm convinced that that would be it. Would be, here's why you shouldn't buy Ninja's headphone. And people will kill me for saying that. You have any idea how many normal non-audiophile people are going to just brigade that video with wrong, and I'm gonna break down and cry from whatever kind of comments they come up with. So even though I should do that, I probably won't. 3 Days Grace of Breaking Benjamin. That's actually a good option. I like those bands too for starters. It's one of the reasons why my audiophile test list is a little too personal to bother sharing with most people, because it's a lot of stuff that I actually like to listen to, or else I would go nuts if I just had tracks that were just for testing. What camera am I using? This is a Logitech Brio 4K, believe it or not. And it's the best webcam you can buy right now, as far as I can tell. So since I was so comfortable talking to the screen and not to the camera, apparently, because I have a bad habit of doing that, and it's just easier to watch the preview on my screen, I decided to get a better webcam, because this one is relatively, surprisingly decent for being a webcam. But it's also just, I'm just comfortable with recording this way. How's my world? Not too bad. Well, not much has changed. Just living the life here. No, not really. Would I listen to only IEMs or only listen to music in mono? That's hilarious. No, I can live with IEMs, but I just prefer full size, definitely. Someone who already owns a ZMF ELS, would you say there's enough difference to justify buying the Auteur? I don't know. You definitely want to demo that. They're different enough that there's reasons why you'd want to use the Auteur for some music, sure. But yeah, I don't know. It's not quite the same thing. If you like the ELS, I don't know if you're gonna like the Auteur as well. Although they are kind of related. So it's better to definitely demo that. Do I agree with Steve Guttenberg that the higher impedance cans sound better? They tend to be more detailed, but then there's weird stuff like the R70X that you expect to be really good and isn't. So that was very odd. It doesn't always guarantee that they're going to sound good. What's an aura? And thank you for the super chat. I don't even know what the ORA is. Oh, the LCD GX. Yeah, I don't know if it's going to be great for gaming, though. That's an interesting option. I almost forgot that was a headset. Wow. ORA. You know what? I'm just going to say ORA just to annoy you guys. No. SE315s. You know, those Shures were hyped up so much, the 215 and 315. And yeah, looking at the measurements now, I'm like, I'm surprised people like them so much. Well, then again, that was a head-fi. What is the orange car? That is a Lamborghini Murcielago LP640 in Arancio Atlas, also known as my favorite car ever. And the other one on the other side of it that you weren't seeing is a 1991 Diablo. So yeah. Let's see. Skull Crushers by Skull Candy have better bass than the LCD4. Very funny. DT880 600 ohm. It's very good. Yeah, it's very detailed. That's a very good headphone. It's just a little too annoyingly sibilant for me, but it's a lot less painful than the DT990. Released in the 990s vid anyway. Yeah, we'll see. Maybe. I have to get a DT990 Pro from somebody. I'm sure there's probably 2 million people with that headphone, though. It shouldn't be that hard to get one. Why do I prefer the 6XX than the 600 now? I think if you go back and watch my comparison between the 580, 600, and 650, you'll see that I said that if I were to do it all over again, I think it would be better to start with the 650 as an EQ starting point than the 600. And after recomparing the two and the 650, after recomparing those two and the 660S, I think I still stand by that, actually. Which free digital EQ app is good for EQing compressed YouTube sound? Yeah, see, the problem with once you've compressed the sound, you're not really going to get anything else back out of it. So you can't really just boost the treble and make the detail come back. Yeah, so I don't think that's going to help you. ELS over Auteur. ELS over Auteur in frequency response, I agree with. But I think Flex and I also agree that the Auteur has more detail, though. And yeah, ELS is very changeable with pad swaps. I forgot about that. I agree with that totally. It's a really different headphone with the Universe perforated suede pads. Thoughts on, thank you for the donation. Wow, $10, nice. There's a lot of super chats today. Appreciate it, guys. What are your thoughts on the Kennerton Odin? I have never heard that headphone. Sorry, I wish I could answer since you paid so much. But I have not. I know that the Kennerton Valley driver is being used in the new Aurora's audio stuff, though. Like the Borealis. The reviews are rare, like finding a McLaren F1. Yeah, exactly. Now they have an upgraded version, which is called the Thor. Yeah, there was one other guy who reviewed the Thor. He makes like these 40-minute reviews. I don't remember his name right now, but there is somebody else who's reviewed him. I don't know if he's good or not. Is my camera stuttering? Okay, I think it fixed itself. I swear, OBS hates webcams. Okay. HD820S or mono only? So what are these questions? That is hilarious. Oh, you guys are talking about the graphene headphone? Oh boy. Yeah, if somebody sends me it, maybe. I doubt they will. They don't want to. I'm like too much of a risk to send new products to, because I really have zero filter and will say they're terrible. Like those Biodynamics, after the DT1770 and the Amaron Home reviews I did, Biodynamic was like, yeah, we'll never respond to your emails again. I was like, yeah, I figured. Bye. Send me crap, gets a crap review. So I don't know. So it would probably be more likely that a viewer should send them to me. I did get the Yaxi pads, and it's funny that you mentioned that. I thought someone might ask about that, so I brought my Porta Pro in here so you can see what they look like. I just bought, you guys know me, I'm very minimalistic, obviously by the walls, and this is what they look like in black. They are definitely much larger and cushier, I can't even see that, cushier than the regular pads, which is the main reason I think they're useful, but they also happen to increase the bass even more to some degree, and on top of that they also increase the mid-treble a little bit. So actually I kind of like the sound of them, but I can see why Zeus likes him, because he's a total bass head, by the way. More so than me even. Like M40X with ZMF pad bass head, and so they definitely have some effect on the sound. I don't think it's so different that people wouldn't like it, so actually they're pretty decent. I don't really mind them, and they're definitely more comfortable, because when I wear the Porta Pros for a long period of time, the pads are too thin, and it definitely starts to annoy my ear. Cheap vintage Stax. I have not heard enough cheap vintage Stax of any kind to recommend or not recommend those. The K702 you really like. Yeah, I really like those too, actually. But they are too bright for me nowadays. They're very capable, though. They're more in line with... Actually, neither of those, really. They have a lot more mid-range. They have a bump there rather than a recession there at about 2K that the 800 and 800S don't have. But the soundstage is actually huge, kind of like the HD800, but the imaging's not as good as the 800. So, but to answer your question though, 800S has a little bit less 6K peak, so probably more similar to the 800S. Planar magnetic driver is better than dynamic driver. I talked about this in the last Q&A as well, and essentially it depends on how you implement them. Like, you can look at the T50. That's actually a planar headphone. I commonly forget that because it has almost none of the aspects of a planar magnetics headphone sound. And then you can look at the LCD2 and the Sesvara, and it's just, you can do a lot of things with planars, and they're not necessarily good or bad just because the technology is planar. That's important to keep in mind. M40X with brainwaves angled pads. Oh god. You don't want to do that. Of those three, the M40X, the SHP 9500, and the HM5, honestly, I'm going to say the HM5. HM5 is actually not a horrible headphone at all. Just don't swap the pads on it. But the M40X gets so much worse with a pad swap. It's ridiculous. No budget. Best headphone for pure comfort. It's a really good question. I gotta say the DT880 edition, or premium, whichever one you want to call it, or the 599. Oh man, so comfortable, those things. Really, really good, and really light. Probably the 599 actually. It clamps a lot less than the 380 or the 600s and stuff like that. What is the most thick headphone? Let's see. The headphone with probably the largest pads I've ever seen. Honestly, the ZMFs have got... Oh, yeah. Here's a good example. This is a ZMF Classic. That's a thick... Not that side, this side. That's a thick headphone. Thoughts on the Sennheiser? Really, really detailed in the treble, but I don't have many other thoughts about it. Max Settings has a good review on them, and he kind of covered that. Whereas we were trying to figure out who's going to cover the Sennheiser versus the LCD2 Phaser against the LCD2 Classic, and so I ended up doing the LCD2C versus the 2F, and he ended up doing the IVA, and I think that'll give you the information you're looking for there. Have I ever heard the Aeon closed? Yeah, I mentioned that earlier, and they basically don't have any dynamics. That's the bigger problem with them. Grado or Audio-Technica? Oh man, stop it. This is painful questions. Yeah, I would definitely take Audio-Technica because the A900X I still have. It's back there on a shelf somewhere because it's awesome. LCD2 closed. Oh yeah. See, LCD2 closed is a lot better than I thought it was, and one of the reasons why is because it doesn't sound like the LCD-XC, thankfully. The LCD-XC has massive treble peaks, and if you just look at the preset in Audeze Reveal for it, you'll see that. The LCD2 closed, however, does not have a very realistic sounding mid-range at all. It's got a 2K shout, it's got a 400 hertz dip, and it's still missing some 4K. But the good news is, other than that, there's not that much wrong with the frequency response. And so if you EQ the thing, it can actually sound surprisingly decent. Now, I haven't compared the soundstage against like the Atticus, however, and I need to do that next. But as far as the frequency response goes, it's a lot less weird sounding. Not good, but it's a lot less weird sounding than many closed backs, including the LCD-XC, which is just a disaster in frequency response. Probably the worst FR Audeze. There's your mini review, but not complete. This is why I don't release reviews early. I don't have all the information yet. What did I think of Z saying the Turtle Beaches were good? You know, I am surprised at some of the measurements that Ratings is coming out with right now for gaming-related stuff. So I wouldn't be surprised if these gaming brands are finally starting to get their act together, making better-sounding headphones. But, yeah, I have no idea. KPH30i is better. Oh, than the Porta Pro? I guess with the Yaxi pads, maybe. Main problem with the KPH30i for me was that it's just clamped even more on my ears, and it's still on ear, so that got annoying. Let's see. Victor Halsgaard. Yeah, that's probably him. Asgardian. Do I suggest an amp for the 58X? You really don't need one, to be honest. That's a pretty easy headphone to drive, as long as you're driving off like a desktop. I don't know about a laptop or a phone, though. I won't get very loud. Stax and cheap don't really go together. Yeah, that's accurate. I'll send you an Aura. Yeah, that'd be good when that comes out, if I can keep up with it. Already always on a backlog of reviews, pretty much. If I own the 600, 650, is it worth pulling a trigger on a like-new 580? Some people really, really like the 580, and depending on which one you get, apparently some of the 580s have less mids than the 600, but they also have less mid-bass humps, so they'd be the most neutral of the Sennheisers, of whatever the Sennheiser neutral is supposed to be. So it's worth trying, I guess. And they're in hot demand right now because of that among those who know. So, what budget portable amp for the 6 series? Budget portable? I really don't know. Flux probably has a better recommendation on that than I do. What's a step up from the K702? I don't think there is one. I've talked about this before. It's because the mids are so unique on them, and not even the K712 is quite the same mid-range tuning. So if you like the 702, just stick with it, honestly. If you like that frequency response. K712 is your first open headphone you're looking for. Tad bit treble sensitive. Can you tame the highs enough with EQ? Kinda. They're still kind of forward and not the most detailed. They're pretty detailed. I think they were more than the 6X0s last time I tried those. But the highs might still bug you. I can't guarantee that you're going to be able to tame them enough if you're extra treble sensitive. Wow, I just scrolled really far. Name one Audio-Technica headphone I like. A900X, done. I actually also like the AD2000X, even though it's such a weird sounding headphone. It's really unique. M1060 and Sasvara are both planers. Yeah, one is laughable and one is endgame. I rest my case right there. Is the Grado PS1000 better built than the Porta Pro? That's a great question. I have not had the PS1000 at home, so I don't actually know 100% for sure if that's true one way or the other. Do I feel the Focal Utopia is worth the money? Probably not. I mean, most things, honestly, once you go past $1,000 in particular, are really not worth the money. But on the used market, they can be a good price, a better price, I guess. Oh yeah, I forgot about the Mad Pads. Welcome to the stream, Knifetography. I found the 599 ears touch the drivers. Yes, some people do have that problem. If you don't have that problem, they're awesome. But if you do have that problem, the DT880 is actually really great pads. Don't get the Pro, though. The Pro clamps more, and so like the pads both wear down faster, and your ears are more likely to touch the inside of the ear cup with the DT80 Pro. Get the premium. I had the 712 for 2 years. They're okay with EQ, but the 6X stuff is EQ is better. Yeah, it does. Except for bass. Yeah, that's right. XB1000. Probably the thickest sounding headphone. Or the XB700, which is kind of a hilariously fun headphone. Dynamic driver is that the size of a headphone will distort with low frequency. Even 5 or 6 inch bookshelf speakers distort in the bass. Yeah, that's accurate. They really don't have very good bass extension unless you have really massive drivers in bookshelf speakers. Yep. Empyrean, less comfortable than the ones you mentioned. Some people might find them less comfortable because, in my opinion, the leather pads sound the best easily on the Empyrean, and leather pads are definitely an iffy point for many people, especially in warmer climates. Utopia is a great dynamic at $2,000. Yeah, that's what I would say too. That's why the used prices are much better. ZMF Classics use almost the same driver damping mod as the Ori. Yeah, they do apparently. And Zach used a lot of the techniques he learned over the years for modding T50s when he made the. Did I just hit myself on stream? Of course I did. He used a lot of the techniques that he learned over the years on the classics. So I don't think it sounds like an Ori, no. And the treble is still annoying on some. It's like a kind of a T50 trademark. Is on some tracks it doesn't bother me at all, and on some tracks it bothers me a lot. It's odd, but all T50s have always been like that. But I have to say it's the best sounding frequency response wise, probably T50 overall, especially the mid-range. He definitely pays attention to the mid-range tone the most. But I think there's only so much you can do with the T50. So I don't know if the price is worth it necessarily. But I'm getting ahead of myself. I am going to review that next, though. Difference between the DT990 edition and manufacturer in terms of sound quality. It depends on what the manufacturer is based on. It's probably based on the 250 ohm, if I had to guess. So if you're talking about the DT990 edition 600 ohm, then yeah, there's probably a slight difference in sound quality, but not much. Did Max Settings really say the Sennheiser is not as good as the 600? I bet the frequency response is not as good. The mid-range in particular, I think he said, was pretty hazy. But the treble is really detailed. So that's a weird headphone. What's a good gaming headset? Probably Audeze Mobius. It's not bad, but pretty expensive. But if you're on a budget, probably going to end up with a HyperX. Probably going to end up with a HyperX or something like that. I also do 2 close back. I owned this for 3 months. Found it created a crazy price. Yeah, dude, I don't know what it is, but actually the weight of this headphone is really bugging me, and it usually doesn't bug me very much. I don't think the pressure, though, of the sealed chamber is bugging me as much, though. But close back Audezes do have some weird extreme seal that can feel kind of odd if you're sensitive to that sort of thing. But they are really heavy. These in particular, and I normally am not fatigued by the Audeze weight, but yeah. I think these are about as heavy as an LCD3, by the way. So if you're sensitive to weight at all, you might not be able to put up with these, even if you can put up with an LCD2. Would I get the Mahogany X00 or the 610? I have not heard the 610, so I can't say for sure on that. 712 are quite bright. Yeah, they're definitely on the brighter side, just like the DT880. Why do I like the Atticus over the Icon? The Atticus has much smoother mid-range. The Atticus has more mid-treble, actually. This really narrow 11K peak, but it EQs fine. I'd rather take the Icon's bass and combine it with the rest of the Atticus Pro, though. I wish. But the Atticus also has a larger soundstage than the Icon if you use the stock pads. That's another interesting point about it. I've heard the Brainwaves Alara, no. I've heard the Hyphem and Sundara, no. Only at Can Jam, so that doesn't really count. Sundara is not super impressive to me. Honestly, it sounded like a slightly better 4XX. The Ananda is a big upgrade over the 4XX, though. Not the Edition XX. I cried over the LCD4. Yeah, it's ridiculous. Why are you going to get mind blown by the Utopia? Yeah, when someone sends me one, probably. They're also really bright, and so they'll be mind-blowing, but probably not with the kind of music that I tend to listen to. So they'll probably get a very good review, but there'll be a not-for-me kind of a thing. That's what I'm guessing from my demos of them. I listen to handmade phones with hand-modded drivers. You mean like the ZMFs? So, yeah, I have. I'm planning on reviewing IEMs in the future. Not at the moment. We'll see what happens eventually. Maybe if I run out of full sizes. Murcielago is the best Lambo. Yes, it is. That is correct. Especially with the 6-speed, obviously. How are the Yaxi pads? Yeah, I just talked about that earlier. And they're basically more comfortable, which is nice because they're thicker. And they do add a little bit of bass, and they add a little bit of mid-treble. So not really a big problem there. I think they're pretty decent, actually. Which I'm surprised by, because most pads that get recommended by certain reviewers are horrific to use on headphones. But this one, since it's on-ear and moving the driver away from you a little bit on a darker sounding version of the 60 ohm driver, it definitely seems to help. Who was the guy who praised the LCD-XC to death at Inner Fidelity? I don't know. Oh, was that Rafe? Probably. Oh boy, I don't even think he writes for reviews anymore. I think Grover Neville is writing most of the headphone reviews now. Maybe he realized that he should stop after talking about realigning electrons. Utopia is not mind-blowing. If anything, it's source revealing. Yeah, that should be interesting. We'll see if that headphone changes a lot from one source to the next. So I'm not as sensitive about that sort of thing as some people are. Let's see what we got now. TT770 32 ohm versus the 80 ohm. The 32 and the 250, from what I remember, are more similar. They're more V-shaped nowadays. The 80 ohm is less V-shaped. They're still bright and still bassy, though. But they're definitely not as detailed because the driver, the impedance is lower, which means that the voice coil weighs more. And so as a result, the whole moving mass of the driver is a little bit higher, which tends to hurt the detail, at least in terms of the biodynamics. MH755 are really good for $8, but a tad too bassy. Yeah, I need to try some of those. The only IEM-like things, meaning not IEMs, earbuds. It's like the only stuff I've really tried. I have the Yincros, the RW9 and the X6. It's funny, I show them to coworkers, and like 2 of my coworkers bought like 5 of them because they were expendable and sounded way better than any earpod does. So that was interesting. But yeah, I don't know much else about IEMs though. Okay, wow, I'm really far behind. I have to skip some things here. Wawa are 5 guys. Yeah. They're both really good, but I can get things that won't kill me next year if I eat them all the time at Wawa. Whereas 5 Guys, it's just like slathering on the fat all day. That's like a once in a blue moon kind of a place. It's fun, but I just can't eat that stuff very often. Most detailed headphone, $2,500 or less. Ooh, new or used. Ooh, that's very interesting. Definitely up there. Probably Susvara, Utopia, LCD4. All three of those are really, really good options depending on the kind of sound you're looking for. I have the M50X and all the pleather is peeled off. Much more comfortable now. I wonder if it sounds the same once all the pleather peels off. Probably not. I had one friend who let the leather crack, but it never peeled off. People hate open backs because it doesn't have an RGB light. That's hilarious, but pretty true among gamers. They just want Razer everything, right? I know because I was that person for a while. Thoughts on Emotique? Yeah, I talked about those earlier. They're definitely more detailed than the X00 and the treble, I think. But the mids are more forward than the X00. Also, sheepskin pads. Oh, what's that? The Daconis? I have no idea what that does. Have I come across vintage headphones like the R10? Yes, actually, although it is like spotting a unicorn, yes, but I have actually heard the R10 very briefly. I have no idea if it was a bass light or a bass heavy model, and the pads were not in the best shape because, you know, it's an 80s headphone, but it was just very smooth and very warm, like a constant down tilt kind of a sound. The bass extension was not good, and that's probably because either one, it's really worn out pads that don't seal quite right, or maybe that's just a limitation of the vintage headphone design at the time. I don't know which one, but I have heard the R10, and it is pretty scrumptious, pretty liquidy. But I wouldn't pay $8,000 for one, which is what somebody wanted for it on headphone at one point. Not that one, but on a different one. Are you going to RMAF? No, not right now. Not as far as I know. I haven't really ventured outside of the New York Can Jam yet, but eventually maybe, if this continues to take off, which I never intended. The fact that I'm doing this live stream and I have 100 viewers just is absolutely blowing my mind right now. I don't understand what it is about what I do that you guys like so much, but I'm still thankful. Prius is the most ugly looking car. Are you sure? The Nissan Cube is pretty bad. There's a lot of really crappy looking cars, but some of them really top the list. The newest Prius has got to be up there, though. There's some things about the newest Civic that I really don't like either. It really was odd. Like the rear. I don't know what's going on there. What headphones under $700 is close to a Porta Pro? Oh, that's a good question. Probably a used ZMF Atticus. Or you can get an A900X. That would sort of work. I think an Elis actually might be one of the closest, even closer than those. But that might be a little more expensive than that on the used market. But brand new, yeah, there's not too much that's that warm, unfortunately. Maybe a 650 if you EQ it will be something like that. Murcielago SV. Oh yeah, Murcielago SV with a stick. Yeah, Mustang or Camaro. Probably Mustang because I can see out of it a little bit better. I've actually driven one of those, whereas the Camaro looks like it's like closed off from the world. It's weird. Not that it looks bad. I really like both cars, but you know, I'm not a car reviewer. That would be fun, but no, I don't know enough to be very serious about that opinion. HM5. Oh my god, put HM5 or ZMF pads on everything. Yeah, no, they'll do that. That's pretty funny. Am I going to review Beats and Skull Candy? Yeah, you know, I want to. I want to do Beats and I want to do Bose and Skull Candy, definitely. But I haven't. Beats EP is really good according to Oratory. Yeah, Beats has gotten their act together. The Solo 3 measures pretty well also. I can send favorite beans to try instead of headphones. Yeah, there you go. LCD2 Classic versus Ananda. Ooh, I definitely want to do that one. But I don't have the Ananda at home yet, so I couldn't tell you which one's better. DropX RDAC. Oh boy, I thought I heard about that, but yeah, I don't know. What is the DropX RDAC? Oh, is that the R2R S-DAC or something? I have no idea. I haven't looked into that. All right, starting to catch up a little bit here. Yaxi's a good company. Yeah, I don't know how their other pads sound, but on the Porter Pro, it definitely seems to be pretty nice. Since Tile is gone, I'm the only game in town for high volume reality based headphone reviews. That's sorely thank you. Yeah, that was kind of my original goal was to try not to replace Tile, but to kind of follow in his footsteps. Really, I don't have a real $50,000 hats or anything like that, but I keep seeing people say I miss Tyler. His name really was Tyll, and he says it tile as in tile on the floor is how he would describe that. Good old Tile. I miss him too. I was like, as soon as I was like the number one Tile fan, I swear, like the second he would drop an article and I would see it on my RSS feed, I would read the whole thing, doesn't matter where I was, drop everything and read it. Such a good reviewer. It's too bad. Beat Studio 3 or the LCD4? Oh boy. Any thoughts on the 569? Yeah, they're basically the same as the 598 CS as far as I could tell last time I heard one. My pick for, what was that? For Office. Whoa, I lost my place again. Sorry, guys. That was a good question. What happened to it? Oh, I guess it was just deleted out of nowhere. Can I use the HD800S to produce electronic music? You're probably going to end up producing everything very dark if you do that compared to most producers, so I don't think I would. Some producers like the LCD-X and they like the LCD2. I can see why that would make some sense for electronic music, but I don't know. The 800S is going to be really bright probably for most, for that kind of thing. So not really. Wawa Cuban sandwich on sourdough. I really like the Panera Cuban sandwich as well. I definitely want. You should try that one too if there's a Panera near you. Have I seen the measurements with 1990s with Deconi Elite Velour? I don't really care about the measurements on that site as much as others because they're basically using a flat plate there and trying to claim that their flat plate is just as good as a head and torso simulator, which is definitely not true. So I'm not sure I would trust the measurements on that site especially for pad swaps. There's a huge difference with pads whenever Oratory seems to measure Deconi's, and on DIY Audio Heaven it doesn't seem to be as much of a difference. So I really question how accurate those are. So as far as Utopia LCD4, yeah. Those three are kind of like the kings right now without being an HE1, which I don't want to buy to upgrade from Arvana Live Annex 00. Ooh. TH900 Mark II with the 610 pads maybe? That's kind of like the direct upgrade, I guess. If I buy a Silver Dragon cable for $500, will it fix the trouble of my HD800? You should just put under that dash head-fi. I guess that's probably what they will say. They'll like, absolutely. Thoughts on LCD GX? I wish I had some, but I've not heard that yet. Hopefully in Can't Jam. Let's see. Emu Teak sheepskin pads came from Deconi. Really? Alright, had not heard that. I don't doubt that Deconi makes some of the pads that come with some headphones. I think they're rumored to have made the ESP95X pads, and thankfully those do measure okay. So it's not like Deconi doesn't know what they're doing, but there are some cases where they make pads and I just shake my head at what they actually sound like. People pad swap too many headphones when they shouldn't be pad swapped. That's the only thing. Let's see. Kia Soul is oddly cool looking for a boxy car. Yeah, I guess I agree with that. It's kind of like an adorable little thing. We like the professionalism, lack of hype, ASMR-like quality. ASMR? No, I'm just kidding. That's not on purpose. That's just the way these mics sound. And I'm trying to get rid of the room resonance by getting closer to them. 100 viewers shouldn't surprise you. People are starved for this type of content. Are they really? I guess there's a lot. Now that I think of it, there aren't that many Q&As for headphones in particular that are going on. I mean, some of my fellow reviewers are doing these, but yeah, I guess you guys are too nice. My pick for there it is. My pick for office and commute friendly headphones under 500 euros. Oh boy, I don't know what the conversion rate is, so I'm gonna say I really should be more aware of conversions with a smartphone with a good DAC. Let's see. My pick for a commute-friendly headphone. That's tough because I don't really think in terms of walking around with full sizes very much. Most people will probably say IEM, but that's probably the answer. Like for commute, a really good IEM that's not overly expensive, and at the office you can get a full size. K553 definitely was my daily office, headphone until I got the Atticus, of course. Yeah, Tileset M50s are good. Oh boy, yeah, I know. He's definitely not infallible. And toward the end, he got really hyped about all the Mr. Speaker stuff, and I'm just like, what? That's odd. Yeah, see, before the Mr. Speaker's debacle and the 660S review that he released, where he was right about the tuning not being as good, but I wouldn't say that the detail of the 660S is worse than the 6X0s, which I think he did say. It's just, yeah, it was a little questionable toward the end, but up until that point, he'd been basically just right on accurate. And most importantly, he had a warmer preference in a lot of people, which apparently was ahead of its time, because when the Harman response research came out, I was like, oh, yep, kind of knew that already. Just made sense. Most people will probably prefer the Harman response. In fact, that's basically what it says. It's an average of population preference there. Although diffuse field stuff is very important to keep in mind, but it's not my thing. And it's probably not most consumers' kind of sound. So I guess I'm a consumer-fi audiophile. I don't know what that even means, but I guess that's what that is. Do I listen to black metal? No, not really that much. I mean, I've listened to Venom because they've influenced Slayer so much, but generally not really. Or does Behemoth count? Maybe not, because they are amazing. Have I reviewed the 1440 by Shure? No, I haven't. And a lot of those Shure open backs have massive amounts of harmonic distortion, so I would be wary of going with those instead of like a Sennheiser or an AKG or the basically the trio. Let's see. You guys need me apparently because there's not a lot of reviews with good ears and access to premium headphones. Yeah, that's true. I definitely had a chance to grow. When Tile retired, I was like, whoa, I'm not ready for this. But apparently, I've become the default for people who are fans of Tile, which makes sense because I have a similar taste to him. What's more bang for my buck? Argon Mark III or the T Audio Phantoms? Oh god, I have no idea what those sound like, but I know that Z reviewed them recently, so I know why you're asking this. But I just don't like the Argons, really, not the Mark III. In fact, Ryan told me that he likes the Mark II better than the Mark III. The Mark III is warmer, but he really damaged the bass quality of the Mark III from what I heard. There was really just almost no bass detail when I heard the Mark III at Can Jam. And those were close, so I got a good, solid listen to those back to back. Although I don't like the Mark II's treble. It's a little bit too forward, actually quite a bit too forward, which the Mark III seemed to have fixed, but then they destroyed the bass quality. So, like, you can't, it's T50s, man. Silver cables enhanced treble. Go copper for 2.5% change in treble downwards. Yeah, exactly. It's just, cables are ridiculous. Buy cables for the build quality, guys. Come on. Which is the most obvious advantage of them. I don't really bother with, I mean, if I'm not already not bothering much with DACs and amps making a difference, which they do make a slight difference, but it's not enough for me to care, then cables are really not going to make a difference by comparison to that. I won't shill cables, so I'm better than Tile. Did Tile ever actually say that he heard a difference between cables that was like clear and obvious? Because I don't remember him ever saying that. I didn't follow him as long as he'd been doing Interfidelity, though. So some of you guys might have more background on that than me. Is the Monoprice Retro the best closeback? Around $25. Is there a good closeback that's that price? I don't know, and I haven't heard the Monoprice Retro, so it's possible. Sorry, I scared somebody by getting really close to the microphone, apparently. Favorite wood for ear cups? Ooh, that's a good question. I have to say the zebra wood on the LCD3 is shockingly beautiful, but Zach always outdoes himself with the kind of wood options that he's offering, so any day he might come up with something even better than that, but right now that's pretty much my my favorite wood, at least in terms of looks. See live streams, but he's constantly eating bacon and doing dishes. You guys are hilarious. I don't know. I don't really watch the other guys' live streams, although I used to participate in Josh Fowler's live streams quite a bit to help answer some of the questions. But I don't even think he's been doing that, has he? I mean, I should have gotten the notifications if he was. So I guess he stopped. My turn, I guess. Blah 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 blah. Good close back around $200 for EDM and metal. That's what I was doing with my EQ'd K553. So apparently the dogs are out to get me today. If you end up hearing that in the background, sorry. Did I enjoy old Top Gear UK? Oh yeah, that's like the standard. And then obviously I'm now watching Grand Tour when it drops, although we don't know what they're doing next, I guess. So that'll be interesting to see what those guys are up to when they come back again. But it's not going to be the same as it had been for those first 3 seasons. Which DAC am I using? I am using the Grace S-Stack at work, and at home I've got the Grace S-Stack Balanced. But I didn't get rid of, because I want to AB eventually, the Topping D50 over here. That's right, Behemoth is black and death metal. Forgot about that. Yeah, that's so cool. I love those guys. What's the best headphone for an 8-year-old? Something difficult to break. You know who would know that answer is Lauren Dragon, actually, because she tests a lot of headphones for the Wirecutter, and I think is raising a kid, and definitely did a kid-friendly headphone piece at some point, at least from what I remember. I am also needed because the larger-than-life reviewer in this area hypes 95% of what he reviews. Yeah, you know, it's funny. Every time the guy releases a review, I look at the comments, and it's like, you convinced me, and I'm like, oh my god. It's really funny. But, I mean, what can I do, man? It's his business. He runs it however he wants. Have you ever tried the M1060C modded to be open? No, I haven't. But I heard that what they did was they moved the severe ringing problem from like 4.5K to 2K or something like that, and that's all that happened. So didn't really improve it. It just changed. But I don't know. I haven't actually heard it though. Is my list is not working? Uh-oh. Sorry, guys, I gotta double check this. Oh, I know why that's not working. It's because the full link didn't copy. That's why. Sorry, guys. Hold on a second. I need to go grab one of my reviews because somebody just pointed out that my link that points you guys to the reviews or the headphones I want to review is not working, which is true because I just copied and pasted from a video instead of copying the link. Actually, this is not going to be that easy. So I'm going to lose the chat if I do that. So I'm going to go back to the chat. I'll fix it afterward. But if you really want to look at the list, just go to one of my reviews, and the real link is in the comments there. Okay. R70X 81,000 or 8,900. Do you think you amped the R70X well enough? Yep, it was fine. It's just less detailed. I mean, even SBAF said the same thing. And the rare time, I totally agree with them on that. What reviews are in the pipeline? Right now, it's the ZMF Classic is the next one I want to do. And depending on what happens, AKG contacted me. They want to send the K371, which I think is supposed to be a K553 replacement. So either that comes after that, or I'll do the LCD2 closed as well. DMS said the R7X is good for mastering. No, it's too warm. Honestly, I'm surprised he said that because he really likes the LX, and that's a very different sounding headphone. Yeah, I don't know. The dumbest snake oil you've ever seen in the audiophile world. Probably the audiophile rocks. And yeah, you did hear me correctly. Audiophile rocks. Let me see if I can find this, because it's ridiculous. You guys are gonna laugh. Here you go. There was definitely somebody who released some kind of like tower to put in your room to improve the sound or something. I think at some point too, but oh my god, that's one of the best ones. Do you think I'll ever get into tube amps? Yeah, someone asked me this earlier. Nah, probably not. The only tube amps I have are my Mesa Boogies for guitar, and that is where tubes shine. What's the... yep, answer that. Do you think somebody can be an audiophile when they don't have the best hearing? To a certain degree. Even though my hearing does go beyond it easily. Somewhere between anything above 8 to 10K there's not as much going on up there. So as long as you can hear up to the mid treble, you're getting most of what high-end headphones have to offer, in fact. And a lot of it has nothing to do with being bright or dark. It's the soundstage and the detail that you can definitely notice the difference, even if your hearing doesn't go out as far as somebody who's younger. So yeah, to a certain degree, yeah, you don't have to have the best hearing to totally enjoy the hobby. Joshua Valor is not good at recommending headphones. I didn't say it. Somebody else did. Z literally just sold a bunch of people Turtle Beach headsets. Yeah, I don't understand why people just buy everything that he says to buy, but that's the way it is. Koenigsegg CCX was the T90 of the road. The T90 of the road. I guess you could say that. You know, I really like the original, the CC8S. Oh man, that's a good looking car. That's probably my favorite Koenigsegg. Aria best, or buy something else. I have not heard the Aria at home, so I can't tell you for sure, but it's definitely brighter than the Ananda when I demoed them at Can Jam. So not totally sure that's going to be for me, but it probably has better performance than the Ananda though, if I had to guess. K550 versus the 770. That's a really interesting question because I used to use the 770 80 ohm, which is why I raved about it so much at work. And then I sold it and I bought another 80 ohm 770 and it wasn't the same. So now it's K550. Did I get the EQ the LCD3? Yeah, I think I put the EQ for it in the description of my second review, because I reviewed one of them that was a 2015 phaser, which was awful, and then I reviewed a 2016 plus, which I think was a 2018 LCD3, which was quite good, and I think I put the EQ for it in the description. Yeah, the K371 definitely does look interesting. And most importantly, if it says 50mm driver, that gives me some hope that they're going to reuse the K550 driver, which is clearly a capable driver. According to Sean Olive on Twitter, a lot of the AKG stuff, everything being designed now, is definitely tuned on purpose to the Harman response, because I mean they're underneath that umbrella. So that definitely makes me somewhat hyped about them. We'll see what happens. I warned them ahead of time, their rep. I was like, you sending me this does not guarantee a good or a bad review of any kind. If that's okay, then we can continue with this. I'm gonna start warning people now because biodynamic. Have I heard the Denon D2000, and do they sound similar to the X00 Ebonies? I think I heard a D2000 once years ago, but definitely not side by side to an X00, so I don't know for sure. But they are supposed to be somewhat similar to those X00s, yeah, because I think it was basically the same driver. Have I heard the one more triple over ears? No. I'm looking for mid-range cans. Got tips. Mid-range as in what? Like a lot of mids, or detailed mids, or mids with a bump at 2K like AKG, or yeah, that's or a mid-range price. I mean, yeah, you got to be a little bit more specific. The kind of guy that laughs at looking at some rocks. Yeah, I feel like Doug DeMuro would too if he did something related to that. Win his car reviews. Audiophile cable lifters. Oh, is that what maybe that's what I was thinking of, the cable lifters. Holy crap. Actually, the 6XX is $220 now. They raised the price a little bit. Still totally worth it, though. Any cheapish, decent closed backs? Like, cheap as in, yeah, you got to give me a price range, honestly. ZMF Ori versus ZMF Icon, a worthy upgrade. Yes, but I think the Icon's going to be more aggressive from what I remember. So not quite the same sound. Definitely go to a Can Jam and check out Zach's lineup. Then you'll know for sure. He actually brought an Ori. Did he bring an Ori? He brought a Blackwood last time, which was really cool, and it sounded great. I almost forgot how good his T50 mods are for being a T50 mod. Top 5 cars with the biggest smile on the grill. Oh, God. Isn't Miata number 1 on that? What kind of keyboard do you like? Oh, it's like somebody must have heard this. I am not a huge keyboard enthusiast, so don't kill me because I'm not going to say something like Box Jades or something. But right now I've got blues on a IKBC F108, I think it is, at home here, and at work I've got browns. They're cherries, both of them. I know, pleb, but and at work I've got a Deck Hassium Pro. That's what I'm using. K553 versus Custom 1 Pro. That's a good question. The Custom 1 Pro is actually one of the warmest biodynamics, like by far. It sounds way different. The Custom Studio is like a DT770 that has an adjustable port. So it depends on what you prefer there. K553, easily more accurate sounding than either of those. Custom 1 Pro is too warm, Custom Studio is too bright and bassy. K553 is kind of in between, mids are a little forward. Me personally, 553. 812. Why does the 812 cost so much and suck so bad? Yeah, that's a great question. Why don't you ask AKG that? According to Oratory, apparently that was what happens when you rush out a high-end headphone. You might tune the frequency response to be to some target, but clearly they forgot about everything else. Even then, it doesn't measure that great. It's too bad because the ergonomics on the 812 are actually fantastic and pretty innovative. But yeah, it sounds pretty bad. It's really, 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 really bad. Can you put regular DT880 style velour pads on Custom Studios? No, don't do that. The EDT 990V, which is the pads you're talking about, are not designed to go on the closed back headphones because they have to have the EDT 770Vs to work because the foam inside is a lot thicker and it closes them off. So if you use the pads that breathe more for the open backs, like the DT80, it's not gonna go over well. It's not gonna sound good at all. HE1000 versus LCD4. Well, obviously I prefer the LCD4 with EQ, but the HE1000, the V1 in particular, is an excellent, excellent headphone. Like, if I didn't, at that time I only had the 800 and not the LCD2, and as soon as I heard the HE1000, I was like, wow, if I wasn't a reviewer, I would buy this. Unfortunately, the build quality, though, is marginal on the HE1000, though. Custom 1 Pro, loved them until all of them started having channel imbalance. Oh, they started having channel imbalance issues? I thought that maybe the one-sided entry with the cable might have caused that, because that does happen on headphones like the DT250. Bulky, straightforward, bold, and rich mids. Okay, so you're looking for low mids to be forward. A warm, like, full mid without being very forward would definitely be ZMF Atticus or LCD3, stuff like that. That kind of tuning. I have a Fostex Ebony modded with XLR 4-pin. Oh, that's cool. Driving it with an HPA4. Isn't that the Fostex amp? What amp do I recommend for it? I'm not a big amp guy. And actually, those are really easy to drive, so I can't answer that. Not a huge believer of expensive cables, but after seeing those rocks, fully convinced. Yeah, man, it's always been that way in audio. What do you do as a job? I am a software engineer, which is just another fancy term for a programmer. I have a computer engineering master's degree, and I write embedded software mainly. Everyone says the Custom Studio has better treble than the 770. Yeah, they're pretty much the same, I think, in level and whatnot. They kind of reminded me of the old 80 ohm 770 a little bit, so they're kind of decent. But yeah, I don't know. This is too bright for me still. It's just a biodynamic sound. Custom One Pro had better treble or mids with a 16 ohm driver. Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah, those are really low impedance. But also because they're such low impedance, the detail was really just not great. That was one of the big drawbacks. Like pleasant, but pretty hazy and grainy. LCD2 Classic versus the M1060. Oh, not even close. Definitely the LCD2 Classic. The M1060 is just broken, and like people have to accept that it's just broken. Like the 4.5K resonance is a real problem, and normally you would never be able to hear anything on a CSD. But the M1060's ringing is so bad that it's almost bell-like, and yeah, you don't want that. DEC is a good keyboard company. You like the Francium? Yeah, I saw that. I wanted the full size. That's why I got the Hassium. It's fantastic to type on. I mean, if I'm going to be programming all day, it's got to be built well, and the DEC definitely did not disappoint. A friend has a Miata. Yes, one of my coworkers has a ND, and it is hilarious how fast that thing changes direction. You've never experienced anything like that before. It just weighs nothing. It's really fun. What's up, Resolve? Why do people say the LCD4 is too aggressive? Well, some people might say that because the air is quite boosted, and I think I mentioned this in the review, especially the unit that I reviewed. I'm wearing the 380 Pro, just to answer your question there quickly above. The treble on LCD4 is a little different because it is very, very detailed. Some of them have more treble, some of them have less treble. Fluxes, I can see why Z would say that, because the treble above, like 10K and above, is kind of like shiny or sheeny sounding, especially compared to the huge cave that all LCDs have around 4K. But there's a lot less of that on the LCD4. But that's the problem, that some people might be annoyed by the LCD4's treble depending on which unit it is. It's funny because the unit I reviewed is the same one Z reviewed. But yeah, the treble is a little bit forward, way up top, compared to some of the other LCDs that are more rolled off and have more of a 10K peak. So to answer that question, hopefully that helps a bit. I almost forgot that, yeah, Flux is Z. Yeah, maybe, since you send him so many headphones. No, Flux is LCD4 went to Z and me, and Joshua Valor. Both of them didn't like it, and I loved it. So I don't know what that says. Which K550 is the K553? So the K553 Pro is the K550 Mark II, and then they added the removable cable on the K553 Mark II, which is the same as the K550 Mark III. If AKG ever does this again, I'm going to slap somebody, because it's so annoying. They're the same headphone. It's just that 550 is international and the 553 is US only, as far as I can tell. If I ever tried the SE A1000 Pioneers, no. I think it's worth paying more for the 800S than buying the original version. I made a whole video on the 800 versus 800S, so that should answer your question. Purist Audio charges $15,000 for an AC adapter cable. You know what the funniest thing about audiophile power cables is? Nobody thinks about all the wire going up to your house and inside the walls. No, but the stuff that goes from the outlet to the amp is so much more critical. Oh, that's the funniest thing. I only EQ'd the HE1000 slightly in the treble. Yeah, I think I just dropped 6K and 10K by like 3 dB, and that was it. And it was awesome. Everything else was just awesome. Like I love that headphone sound. It does suffer a little bit on the bass dynamics though, that I remember. But everything else was just exceptional. Can I make a screen reader that works with Fruity Loops? I don't know. I don't know about that. That's not my area of expertise in terms of programming. Most tolerable biodynamic, probably the Custom One Pro, but then you lose all the resolution of the better ones. The DT240 is also really warm and super disappointing. It's really grainy also. So the most tolerable good biodynamics, put it that way, is probably the DT880, 250 ohm. The 600 ohm models I've heard have been brighter, but that could be unit variation. No idea. Long answer to a simple question. Why do AKGs cost so little compared to Sennheisers on Amazon UK? I don't know, because they're all pretty expensive over here. I've heard that in Europe the AKGs are a lot cheaper in general. But I thought that was the case for a lot of the German and Austrian brands. Maybe not. Friend told me AKG K712 is comparable to HD800. I guess I can see why somebody would say that. It's got a pretty wide stage, 6K is forward a bit, like the 800, but I wouldn't say they're identical. Like the HD800 is gonna clearly still out-resolve it, but slightly different frequency response. They're both bright though, both wide, so that's interesting. K712 and the K702 alike have always kind of been the baby HD800. Same thing with the DT880, just not as wide of a stage, at least in my opinion. It's the best, most detailed headphone under $500 that can be driven by the Radzone ES100. I happen to have one of those. It's great. What's the most EQ-friendly headphone for a competent driver under $500? Ooh, wow, that's a great, very specific question. Now, you said most detailed, not like a specific FR. So I'm going to say probably either the Sennheiser and the treble, or maybe the K712, something like that. Have you seen the HD300 Protect? Yeah, I have. I tried the regular HD300 Pro, and I just sent it back like the day after. It's probably the same exact sound. The Protect prevents the SPL from going above a certain point when you turn a switch on. It's actually kind of useful for studios. It's too bad the HD300 Pro is annoyingly bright for me, because feature-wise, it makes a whole lot of sense for studios, definitely. And they got the frequency response a lot better on the bass and the mids, but yeah, I don't know. I'll stick with the 380s for now. Considering how much Audeze is promoting the Cypher cable, do you think other audiophile brands will start doing DSP? Yeah, DSP is kind of like, and do I think active headphones are going to be the future? Yeah, actually, I kind of do. And something I think I talked about in the Q&A with Audeze that I did, I think that's 2 Q&As ago, is that can we see some of this Audeze Reveal EQ settings making their way into like amps, or even better, can we have an LCD5 with a Cypher cable that's like bespoke per headphone, measure each headphone and take the average of 5 positions and then make a serial number specific EQ with amazing results and sell it? And that's what I think is going to end up happening with headphones. You'll probably see a lot of DSP coming. And Tile had said the same thing. I agree. That's probably where we're headed. But yeah, I think other audiophile brands will probably start doing that eventually. 800 to 880 or 880 Pro. Definitely the regular 880, because the clamp force is so much more comfortable. Am I more sensitive to treble or forward mids? Both. That's why I always talk about the peaks. Most headphones tend to peak at those 3 main locations around ear resonance. And the reason why I say 3.5K a lot is because that's where Tile's hats always peaked. And subjectively, that's about where I hear the upper mid-range ear resonance peak. And then there's the 6K, and for me, for my ears, it sounds more like around 10,500 to 11K instead of 10K is the mid-treble peak that I tend to hear on most full sizes as well. So those 3 frequencies I tend to have a problem with. If they're all in line, then I'm good. But most full-size headphones tend to be brighter than I like, which is just kind of the way it is, I guess. That's just me. If you were stuck on an island to survive the rest of your life, you're supplied one type of food. What would it be? A pizza, burger, fruits, or DT770s? That's an excellent question. One type of food for life. Well, I got to think about what I can eat that won't like kill me. So I couldn't get pizza or burger. Didn't the Irish survive on nothing but potatoes? There we go. I'll take it. Baked potatoes. DT177X was tolerable. Yeah, I didn't listen to that. They had that at Can Jam? Oh, maybe they didn't have that at the one I went to. I'll have to look for that. Can Jam 20. I definitely want to listen to that, but I haven't yet. But its measurements are, yeah. I used the Q701 over the K7XS. Yeah, the K7XS kind of 7XX broke the bass for some reason on that headphone. It is so mushy and bloaty and lacking in dynamics. I don't know what happened, but the K7XX does not sound like the other AKGs. It seems purposeful, maybe. I wonder if they did the bass port mod to it. I don't know if anyone's been able to confirm or deny that, but it kind of sounds like they might have done that. You'll have to leave the look of horror on stereophile readers' faces looking at the voltage sag and three-phase frequency fluctuations on a typical residential power grid. Exactly my point. Spoken like a true power engineer, if that's what you are. What was the recent or last video game you played? See, I don't play anymore because my wrist, and I don't want that to get worse again, but I'm trying to think of, I think the last one I played very seriously was probably Battlefield 4. Really got into that. I still talk with my old gaming clan. I've known them for years now. If you had a $1,500 headphone budget, what would I buy? A lot of options. Probably a used LCD3 at the moment. It's kind of what I'm eyeing up next if I upgrade from the 2. It has to be 2018 or later, though, with that new headband. Best over-ear portable under 300 pounds. Oh, crap. I don't know the exchange rates. That's what I was trying to say earlier. Not the conversion rates, exchange rates in US dollars, but that would help. Over-ear portable, though. You know, yeah, I don't know. I honestly, I want to say the Mobius because it's Bluetooth and sounds crazily good for being a Bluetooth headphone. I don't know how portable you consider it, though, because it is a little bit heavy. So that's the thing I'm going to go with for now. When I think of the Focal Stellia, most people are saying it's really good. Yeah, I did hear that at the Bloom meet, and I thought it was pretty decent. But I think the final word on it is going to be that it's not worth $3,000 either. My plan is when I get the Verite C in, I'm going to borrow that from Bloom, and just like I'm borrowing the LCD2 closed from Bloom, and put it up against put the Stellia up against the Verite C. And that should be really interesting. So that's my plan, to review that in more detail. Is the 660 my reference headphone? I had switched to the 6XX recently. And I think with the mid-range reduction on there, and that sounds a little bit better to me, timbre-wise in particular. Focal has an amp with DSP. Oh, they do? I didn't know they had DSP in their amp. There should be a combo with an open back and DAC and amp with DSP tuned to the headphone. I agree. That's what I'm telling Audeze. Like, if you want to get really... I mean, actually, that kind of is what the Sonoma Model 1 is, but it's an electrostat, and there have been some issues. Hello, HZ. So, hopefully, there'll be more stuff like the Sonoma Model 1 in the future, but better. Or made by other brands. What IEMs am I using? I don't really use IEMs. If I'm like on the go, the Porta Pro wireless is really a blast. As long as I'm not annoying anybody with it. Zio said the Neumann I think it's NDH 20 is better than the 820. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if it was. The 820's frequency response is just so off. Sorry if I rattled somebody's subwoofer with that. I hit the cable by accident. And with treble and bass knobs. Yeah, default DSP with treble and bass knobs. You guys are reading my mind here. That's what I want to see from headphones in the future. A lot of audiophiles are so against EQ, and I'm glad that Bob Katz kind of chimed in on interfidelity there towards the end to say, what's wrong with you guys? Every single recording you listen to is equalized at some point. So being against EQ on the last stage of the chain is ridiculous, because it is. Best bone conduction headphones. Yeah, I have not heard any of those. That would be really crazy if someone released a high-end bone conduction. How cool would that be? I have no idea. Honestly, the answer to that is, did you try the iSign 10s? No, I have not. Although I think Oratory posted what the curves look like for all of the cipher cables for the iSigns, so you would probably want to try to emulate that. Pineapple on pizza, oh boy. That's a big debate, you know. I don't think I've ever tried pineapple on pizza. I probably should do that at some point. But I do know that in very colorful language, Gordon Ramsay absolutely hates that stuff. Do I watch and follow any esports? I seem like a StarCraft guy. No. Never really got into RTS that much. I used to play Command & Conquer Generals way back in the day, but other than that, nah. I definitely was here and there following what was going on in CS for a while, but not in a number of years now. It's fun to watch, though. I was thinking of getting the Audio Quest Nighthawk Carbon. Don't. I don't think they did anything to the driver. It's just it's just a color thing. Oh, the amp has arrived again. EVE Online. No, dude, I was a straight up first person shooter guy in terms of multiplayer. What's Rela? Yeah, I'm not up to date clearly on what games are coming out. Did I listen to the Aria? I did briefly at Can Jam, so it's not very good. Not very good impressions. Not that the impressions were negative, just that I don't think I trust whatever I heard as being useful advice for you. So I'll have to make a video when I do try the Aria at home eventually. Not bothered about wireless, just a portable over-ear. Well, if they still made the B&O H6, I would say that would be the one to look for. You can probably still find a used one. Those are pretty good. What are the downsides to the cans I'm currently wearing? Massive sub bass, like massive sub bass, like 8 or 10 dB. Actually, the pair I'm wearing, sorry for the pop, the pair I'm wearing was measured by Tile. So if you want to take a look at Interfidelity's headphone database, you'll find the HD380 Pro in there, and you can see what the frequency response looks like. It's not great. But the important part is it's not a very bright headphone. So like when I'm on axis like this, as opposed to over here, the treble from the condenser mic doesn't just blow away my ears while I'm monitoring the headphone in real time. Because for those who don't know, the way I have this hooked up is there's a zero latency monitor, so I can actually hear exactly what the microphone is recording at the same time I'm recording it. So that's what these are actually for. Susvara or HE1000. I've not heard those side by side, so I can't tell you for sure. Yeah, I think Amp is on the money there. I keep forgetting how hard the Susvara is to drive. It is very hard to drive. I can't remember if it's harder or not as hard to drive as the HE6, but it's up there. So I think some people are still plugging them into speaker amps. Best under $200 DAP for the HD6XX because you're in the EU. What? Oh. Best under $200 is not the 6XX because you're in the EU. Yeah, that's right. The prices on Massdrop are ridiculous over there. I have heard about that. Stelia price aside, you think it sounds better than my CMF Atticus? No idea. The main thing with closed backs is they're gonna have some kind of frequency response weirdness. So a lot of it is even more so how do they compare in soundstage in detail, and I just did not spend enough time with them to compare them side to side. Although I might be able to get a chance to compare them to the Atticus directly soon, because I'm probably just going to be hanging out with Bloom here and there since they're local. So maybe I'll try to do that next time if I remember. No IEMs? Yeah, no IEMs. Sorry. Just bought an LCD4. Hope I love them. Oh, man, that's a big purchase. Sounds weird. I don't know what all the fuss is about with the Audezes. They don't do it for you. Yeah, they're not going to do it for a lot of people. And the only reason why I like them is because I'm EQing them. Like, their frequency response is very weird without EQ. And if you're not going to do that, then it might not even be worth trying. And they're also very heavy, which a lot of people tend to not like. If I had two options, when I pick a Nissan Cube or the K812 Pro, oh my god. This is hilarious. Well, at least the car would get me somewhere. So, I would hate to be seen with that, though. You make a good point. I don't have an answer for that. I guess it's going to have to be the Cube. Because the 812 is just so bad. HE1000. Yeah, I see what you said, Amp. It does sound broken. The frequency response is not good. I'm not going to deny that. HE1000 interests me, but they keep changing their lineups every day. Yeah, seriously, Hi-Fi needs to stop coming out with so many new things. I wonder if they're trying to... Something I was joking about with Bloom is that I think Hi-Fi is trying to come out with so many models so that they can keep ahead of the reviewers so that people just buy them anyway. I can't keep up with all the Hi-Fi mans, therefore I can't release reviews fast enough saying they're bad, so therefore people go and buy them. There you go. I got AN Flow closed for $250. Didn't think the headphones worth the $799 price tag. Wow, that's cheap. Yeah, the treble is a little forward, and most importantly, it's grainy, so that makes it even more annoying sometimes. Yeah, I really don't like the AFCs that much. What headphone? This is a really good question. What headphones would you impress someone with who has never heard decent audio? And actually, my first answer to that would probably be, well, if I'm just showing somebody, probably the Creative or Vinyl Live, honestly, because they have enough bass to where I don't think most people will complain. Whereas even though the Sennheiser HD600 was one of the first headphones to really blow me away before I was deep into the hobby, I could see a lot of people being like, where's the bass? Because people are used to like 10 dB bass boosts. You have to keep that in mind coming from consumer-fi. So, blah, blah, blah. My favorites are the Focal Clears. Yep, those are quite good. I think under 1500, that's a pretty good choice as well. But I hadn't reviewed them at home yet. Oh, you heard them at CanJam and bought them. Yeah, that makes sense. And you used the HD600 for 10 years previously. Yeah. Yeah, that's a fairly direct upgrade, a little bit brighter, but yeah. DT240 Pro opinion, bad. Don't buy it. Straight up. You don't even need a review on it. It's just super grainy. It measures great on tiles. This is a great example of a headphone that measured really well if you like Harman on Tiles Rig, and then you buy it, and it's awful. It's super, super grainy. For the love of God, buy a decent IEM and enjoy it. I'm using IEMs more than headphones. Sorry. Eventually. Maybe someday. We'll see. I need to get a bunch of reference IEMs. Like, I have a bunch of reference headphones. Like, I've got the K553, the Cal, HD800, LCD2, and most importantly, the 6XX. And those are all references for their price ranges, in my opinion. So, or for Soundstage or whatever. And so I need like a whole fleet of reference IEMs before I can really start reviewing that. So that's, some investment there. Oh yeah, I was like, who has a Dave? And I'm like, oh, it's Flux. Okay, gotcha. Flux, I think, does EQ. Probably answered that already. I'm way behind the chat. Do electrostatic drivers damage easily from dust and humidity? Apparently they do on Staxes, which is why they come with dust covers, but I haven't personally experienced that. IEMs can sound more open than most closed backs. That's a good point. I haven't spent enough time with them to know that, but yeah, I know I'm so behind. Sorry. It's really difficult. Now I think I might have lost where I was before. But that's a good thing to keep in mind, especially M40X. Oh God, the soundstage. What soundstage? There's none. Blah 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 blah. Resolve. Tell this man to buy IEMs. You guys are so You guys are so into IEMs. That's fine. I just haven't listened to many of them. I'm almost caught up here. Verite review coming soon. No, not yet. I'm getting the Verite and Verite C at the same time, but it's probably going to be a couple of months, honestly. Which makes sense, because Zach has spent too much time with me having his headphones already, so he needs to send them to other people. Not a big fan of Hi-Fi Man. No, not really. And it's mainly because their tuning is a bit bright for me. But they do have some capable headphones. Though the build quality is not the best. Not as okay, too dipped in the mids. Yeah, you might like more forward mids there. If you'd like more forward mids in the Ananda, probably want to take a look at the Audeze. That's a pretty good headphone. Hi-Fi build quality is pretty unacceptable. Yeah, that's kind of what I was saying. Hi-Fi sound is okay if you like bad sound. Oh, Sal. Oh, I know who Brent Bront is. Okay, you can try and hide, but I know who that is. Fostex is good for enjoyment. Yes, totally agree. Am I waiting for Fidelio X3? No. Yeah, the X2 is... I never reviewed it, but it's pretty grainy. So, not a big fan, because I put a lot of importance on soundstage and detail. So, over the FR, because of people like Amp who will just blast away at headphones because they have a bad FR, which is totally valid. So I can't even assume what people like anymore in terms of frequency response, and so I have to base the reviews on something else. Why does an Audeze make new phones look like the EL8? Honestly, don't know. Like, the LCD is just such a heavy design, and they need to do something about it. Yeah. Like this. The LCD line looks like what you see in those World War II movies and the B-17 bombers, and they are heavy. Yeah, they kind of do look like vintage, massive headphones. They're really, they need to do something about the weight. Would I recommend the M40X? No, not really. Not when the Cal exists. Creative Over on Alive. IMO2 is supposed to be very flat. I've heard the IMO2 is pretty good, but I don't know. HD800 with Yossi Horikawa tracks. Yes, that's true. I don't think that would be too overly bright, but it would be pretty aggressive. Yet that soundstage, though. And it's funny, I put my LCD4 on one of my friends who's not an audiophile, and the first thing he did was like, and I was like, yeah, I know. People don't know what soundstage sounds like. It's really cool. Can I stream on Twitch? I have a larger audience there. I don't know, because then a lot of people would have to resubscribe. That's kind of why I'm doing it here. Have you heard the Thei Audio Phantom? No. And just because Z reviewed something recently almost definitely means I haven't heard it. Best-selling headphones for music and gaming under $400. Man, you guys got all kinds of price points. 400, 300, 500. I mentioned a lot of these. I don't think music and gaming have the same goals, so that's difficult. Totally depends on what you want to optimize there. Because like the 6XX I really like, but their soundstage is not that good compared to like the DT88 or 712. But for those, I don't find them as enjoyable for music. So it's like, that's why I'm having trouble with that question. Should we also be worried about dust with a pair of HD600s sitting on a desk for 3 years? Probably not. I don't think dynamic drivers really suffer from dust like that. Not like electrostats do. Opinion on TH900, I don't have one because I haven't heard it. Yeah, the Audeze is, if you like a more forward headphone, in the mids in particular, like than the Ananda, but still really, really good bass extension and great dynamic timbre, yeah, you definitely want the Audeze. That's a good option. Yeah, you left the HD600s open for 10 plus years and sometimes left them on the floor. Yeah, I don't think they're going to have any issues with that. Is that what it is? Oh, the M1060 and the Thei Audio Phantom are the same driver. That's right, I forgot about that. Oh boy. Is the HD600 too similar to the 6XX to be worth getting? They're pretty different now that I have both of them again. The 600 has a lot more mid-range, but then again, I'm very sensitive to these things, and even 2 or 3 dB more mids is like really noticeable for me. But something that was interesting when I compared the 600 and the 6XX recently was that because I needed less upper mid-range EQ on the 6XX, it sounded like the mids were more detailed. But if you don't EQ either one, you might like the more forward 600 sound. However, the 580 might be the best, according to some people. It's one of those things where you probably just got to try all of them, and it's hard to do. But the Sennheisers are similar enough that I wouldn't be surprised if one person likes the 660, the next one likes a 580, the next one likes the 650, and they're all valid, you know. That's the problem with that. Which headphones have the best soundstage? Oh god, let me see if anyone's gonna destroy me. I'm gonna give the correct answer, okay? AKG K1000. Are you guys happy yet? But realistically, HD800S is the only one in production now that's got the largest soundstage. Have I heard much about the the LCD24 yet? Yes, I have not heard it, but I've heard really, really good things about it. It's got the LCD4 diaphragm and the LCD2 magnets, and it's got the lighter MX4 chassis, which is kind of like an awesome combination. So we'll see how it actually ends up doing, but yeah, I have some high hopes. KZs, KZs, I thought those are considered not the best, but it'll be interesting to see. Tin T2, I think the T2 is supposed to be less bright than the T3, right? So you can probably eliminate the T3. TFC King, I've heard that. The IMO2, definitely want to try. Yeah, don't send me the X1000. Isn't that worth a lot? One of the problems with IEMs is that when people are sending me them, I need fresh tips, like 100%, because I don't want to put people's earwax in my ears or mine in other people's ears. That's one of the other problems I have with IEMs. So if you can give me completely fresh tips with those, then yeah, sure, that'll be interesting to try. But not yet. I've got a backlog right now, maybe in a month or two. Okay. Now I don't know where I am again. But thank you for the super chat, by the way. Really appreciate that. You guys are really on it with the super chats today. Jeez. Thank you. LCD GX is like 420 grams. Yeah, wow, that's really light. Yeah, the single-sided magnet and the lightweight chassis at the same time, that's probably why. But I wouldn't expect the best performance out of those. And they're still really expensive for what they are. I think most fun closed back. Most fun. X00 is up there, definitely. Most fun closed back ever? Yeah, it's probably the X. Actually, the X00 is not completely closed. So for a completely closed, probably the A900X. Jeez, that thing is so fun for metal. It's probably my favorite metal headphone ever. Blah, 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 blah. Headphones with the most realistic soundstage. Yes, that's a different question. The largest soundstage, the HD800, most realistic soundstage may not be. Because some people find it way too wide. I don't know what the answer to that is. But recently, the Audeze sounded more realistic than my Audezes, for example. As I think I said that some things sound like they're coming from behind you when they probably aren't supposed to on the LCD2. But the Audeze was like a smaller room and pretty accurate. It was pretty good. A lot better than the Aeolus's soundstage. Yeah, gamers think 7.1 works. It is soundstage. Yeah, no, it's not, obviously. What has great soundstage under $1,000? Can't you find HD800 for like $600, $700 now? So technically that would fit. But I really don't think the Audezes have that bad of a soundstage, to be honest. LCD2 and LCD2 Classic were very, very, very close on soundstage, and I can live with them, even though they're not as wide as the 800. I like them. In terms of the stage, too. Audeze you found boring. Yeah, I can see people finding that. Audeze with the stock pads is a very, very classically, here we go again, neutral headphone that sounds kind of like a 600 in the mids. I'm a big fan of the 58X. Yeah, the frequency response of the 58X is pretty good. actually, because I don't like the as forward mids of the 600 and the 650, but the detail is really obviously better on the 600, 650, and 660. Headphone of choice on a plane. If I had to travel, I don't know. I haven't even tried the QC35s or the what's it called, the Sony's. Probably end up picking one of those. Do I have a headphone high score list? No, I don't actually have like a wall of fame like Tile used to. But that would be nice to have. I probably should have that. Every year or so, I tend to do a video of like my favorite picks of the year. Don't know if I did that this year. Probably not. Maybe the beginning of next year. We'll see. Have I heard the new Yoshi Horikawa Spaces? I heard like one song and then I stopped. And not because it was bad, but because like I didn't end up listening to the whole album at that time. I need to go back to that and do it. Have I seen Atom Audio's new headphones? No. When am I going to get a Smith? Oh, is that the Smith Realizer, the A16? Nah, probably not going to happen. You heard the 660s sounded like Tile said, lacking detail and treble. Really? Because they sound brighter than, quite a bit brighter actually, than the 600 and 650 that I have here. Oh, you know what? Maybe the one you listened to had older pads. That can definitely affect the treble a lot. That's one of the problems with reviewing the Sennheisers. You have to have absolutely brand new pads. Oh my god. We already went past 2 hours. This is ridiculous. There's no stopping. There's no stopping now. Alright, maybe I'll do maybe 15 more minutes or something. What else do we got here? LCD GX was a disappointment. Yeah, okay, that doesn't surprise me. But I still need to hear those. Shouldn't have made the LCD GX target gamers. I mean, they did on purpose because they probably saw the Mobius market was huge. Good travel clothes backs under $200. Are you talking about a plane? Because that probably still won't work. Cologne reviews. Didn't I talk about that? I think I talked about that in the last one. That was ridiculous. Or listen to any high-end speakers. A couple, but not much. I don't know if it even counts, but I think I heard a Bowers & Wilkins 802 once. And to be honest, the diamond tweeters are a little bit etched sounding. So not the best. But I haven't been to a mainly speaker-focused show before, so that would be interesting. I wondered why I was getting so warm in here. There we go. But yeah, I haven't heard that many high-end speakers, though. Best all-around without EQ at all. Ooh, that's a good question. Best with no EQ at all, no matter what. Wow, that's really hard. Something I could live with without EQ at all? Maybe the A-list, probably. Honestly, that's probably one of the closest that I've heard. I guess I could live with the LCD4 without EQ because it is not super far off, but it definitely benefits from it. But definitely not things like the Sysfar or the Utopia or whatever. That's probably going to be too bright. If you like the frequency response of the 58X for some songs more, even though my 6XX is more detailed. Yeah, that's why EQ is nice. Basically, right there. I like the LCD2 better than the Classic. Yep. Yeah, it was. I did a comparison review on those two. And the phaser was a little bit more detailed, a little bit less peaky in certain spots. So it clearly was an improvement. No, I'm not going to RMAF. Not this year. Opinion on one more quad driver. I have not heard it. The Atom monitors sound awesome. Yeah, I think some of them do. I haven't heard that many studio monitors. I guess I heard an LSI 305 if that counts as a speaker, and that sounded really, really good to me too. Why are Sennheiser and AKGs not working on new mid-fi stuff? Yeah, that's what I'm asking too. Like, why can't we have a real successor to the 600 and 650, not this 150 ohm extra efficient thing? That's kind of what I said when the 660 came out. I'm like, why are we targeting a lower impedance? The whole point of the Sennheisers was that they just sound good, not that they need to be low impedance and easier to drive. So, and AKG is just the reason why AKG is not doing it is because their original engineering team doesn't even exist anymore. They are now called Austrian Audio. They made their own thing, and yeah, Biodynamic just failed with its Tesla technology. It's just grainy. I don't know what happened there. You'd think that Biodynamic would try to improve on the sound and know what detail means. So I don't know what happened there with the Tesla drivers. Yeah, well, the reason why I like the 660S when I first heard it, even though, at least I think I complained, like, why did we reduce the impedance? We didn't need to do that. The reason why I called it that was because the mid-range was less forward, which means that the 660S with no EQ at all is a lot closer to my preference, which is still the case, I think. But, yeah, I'd rather EQ a 650. Let's see, Neurophone, I've not heard that. Never heard the SR1A already. No, that's something I want to hear at Can Jam. Yeah, trying to get gamers to buy an $800 headphone like the LCD GX. I don't know if that's going to happen. Initial reviews, the LCD GX, see it's warm and have a thick sound. I mean, yeah, a lot of the LCDs have that sound. But yeah, that's also not good for gaming, I agree. But the soundstage might still be good. It might just be really warm. But that doesn't help people trying to play FPS. True. Is a 660S soundstage good? Honestly, I haven't noticed a huge difference between it and the 600 650. The only reason the MSR7 got so popular is because they cleaned up the mid bass and have a better high end than the M50. That is true. That is true. Still a little bit bright for me, but they're a lot better than the M50. That's true. But they were like $400, and that's, I think, one of the other reasons why I was like, what is this? Just received my HD600 made in Romania. Yeah, well, the parts are exactly the same, and the sound should be exactly the same. But yeah, Sennheiser closed their Irish factory, I believe. So that's the way it is now. So that's interesting. Clearly, they're still being made. Sennheiser told me earlier in the year that 600 650 were discontinued, and they were removed from the Sennheiser site, and now they're back. So I don't know what's going on. Maybe they decided to move all the production and not just kill the models off to Romania. So I don't know. If I use any other forms of DSP besides EQ, like compression and phase, room compensation, I'll add to that. What's the other one? Crossfeed. No, I actually don't do any of that stuff because I don't really want to add any virtual effects generally, like room, sound, and whatever to the music. I just want the music to be there. I want the soundstage to already be good. What Discords are best for headphones and audio? I don't know about that. A lot of the Discords I'm involved in are private, and that's the best place. But if I had to pick one, probably still Headphone Headquarters. I think it used to be just discord.me/headphones. I don't know if that's still true, but people in there are generally helpful. Hi-Fi HE500 sound better than LCD2C. Yeah, you know, I wonder if I would have gone with the HE500 instead of the LCDs if they still made it. I just don't want to buy something that's not made anymore and not really covered. Oh, did they really? I did not know that Sennheiser switched to Romania to improve quality. Whoa. So I hadn't heard of any Sennheiser quality issues generally. Not at all at that factory, so that's pretty interesting. You have to paste me a link on that. That's really interesting. Ever wanted to buy the Waves NX thing? Yeah. No, not really. I didn't really like the head tracking. Like, that seems weird to me. I guess it's kind of nice if you're watching a movie. Like, Netflix on the Mobius was a really interesting experience. Definitely fun, but generally I don't think head tracking is needed. So no, not really. Thoughts on the Argon Mark II versus Mark III? Yeah, I wasn't impressed with the latest model. I think I talked about this earlier. The Mark III was warmer, but the bass quality is really damaged. to the point where there wasn't much bass detail. Like, it's hard to distinguish notes in the bass region from each other. And in fact, Ryan said that he likes the Mark II better, although the Mark II is also brighter than I like, so I don't really like either of them 100%. So that's what it is. What do I think about burning in headphones? Generally, I don't find much of a difference there, but there are some headphones that might physically benefit, like the ZMF Icon and ZMF Auteur, because they have rubber surround on the biocellulose driver. I think Resolve talked about this a little bit with the Verite as well. And since he's in here. Oh, really? Your 660S had a really bad channel imbalance? Wow, yeah, that's really broken. Yeah, that shouldn't be. It might be broken. Because mine sounds totally normal. Wow. Suspicious the place with the better quality has 1/10 the salaries. Oh, God. Yeah, that's pretty interesting, Resolve. I hadn't heard about the 660 having channel imbalance problems. Yeah, I had a 650 that had driver rattle, unfortunately. And it's annoying because it's something that you don't really pick up on, except if certain notes are being hit, too. So it's almost like you won't even discover it if you buy one used until much later, and maybe even the previous owner may never have discovered it. Yeah, it's kind of weird. 599 to Audeze Mobius for gaming. I mean, only if you're using virtual surround. Because the thing about the Mobius is the soundstage is not great, but it does sound like the best Bluetooth headphone to me. But the 599 has got the soundstage, natural soundstage, that's much better. So that's the trade-off there. But if your game is supplying... See, most games already have HRTF built in now anyway, so like you might as well get this thing with a better soundstage and stick with it if positioning of enemies is a big deal. A lot of 600 series can have channel imbalance because of the cable insertion wearing out, maybe. I don't know. I haven't had the problem. I owned a 600 that I bought brand new for about 2+ years, and I didn't have any issues with that. I didn't really take the cables out very often, though. Did Zach send me a pair of Verite to review? No, he's going to send me a Verite and a Verite C probably in a couple months. BuzzFeed 49 versus 2006. Is that the one where they take the HE1000 out and they're like, this isn't even wireless? Because if it is, biggest face palm ever. DT990 or DT880. I just choose DT880 because it's so much less painful to listen to. Blah, 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 blah. HD600 rattle. Yeah, Massive Attack will definitely reveal some rattle. A lot of the time, yeah, that is just a hair. And a lot of headphones do suffer from this. Actually, the DT770 is one of the ones that does that quite a bit as well. And sometimes you'll definitely get to the point where it's not a hair on the driver and it just needs to be replaced. I luckily never ran into that with any 770s that I had, but it does happen. If you ever had a collaboration video with Zeus, it'd be extremely difficult to hear your voice. Yeah. Actually, what would happen is I could be here on the mic, and then Zeus would be all the way on near the door, and then our voices would be about the same volume. You wish that Vlad, I've talked to Vlad, and he should catch on to the KPH-30i hype. In fact, I was the one who told him about the Yin Crows, and he bought them, and he was like, this is incredible, and I'm like, yeah, I know. He definitely should do the Casas. And you can just tweet at him and tell him that I said that the Porta Pros are good, and he should review them. Actually, I think he reviewed the Porta Pro Wireless already. And he didn't give him such a good review, and it makes sense because they're really expensive for what they are. But the regular Porta Pro at like $30 is so good of a deal. Same thing with the KPH. How did I fix? I didn't fix the 770. I never actually had a problem with it. But a lot of the time, it's a hair on the driver that causes the driver rattle. But sometimes you'll have to warranty repair them. Because sometimes it's not just a hair. All right, guys. I think that's about it. And we're at 2 hours and 20 minutes now. Thanks everyone for sticking by. And we'll have another one of these, but it won't be next week. I mean, it'll probably be in a couple of weeks. Hopefully, this was useful. Because this is so easy for me, and if it's really helpful for you guys, then I'll keep doing it. And yeah, I guess I do have to do some IEMs eventually. Alright guys, thanks again, take care.